What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Leader Set Trends podcast. And on today's episode, following the celebration of the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I wanted to focus on some legacy principles that we can consider, some leadership principles we can consider as we lead within our organizations, our institutions, as we lead ourselves, and also lead within the household. Because it's not only about us, it's about the legacy that we leave. It's about what we set up for those that are coming behind us. So as always, get your notepads, your note-taking materials, and let's get into today's message. So how was your MLK Day? Did you reflect? Did you take time and watch documentaries? Did you see all the different posts that were blasted online on the different social media platforms? What did you do to reflect? And of course, as we know, the I Have a Dream speech is that one that everyone can resonate with, because that is the, again, that is like the golden standard of messages that MLK did. But there's so many other impactful messages there that a lot of people haven't heard. There's so many impactful quotes and pieces that stood out in the life, in the messaging, and all the different opportunities that MLK had to lead, right? To mentor, to support those that were a part of this mission to really transform the world. If you really think about the time that he was a leader, what he was trying to do in that time was truly a game changer. It really was. To be a leader at that time, aiming to transform policies, to transform mindsets and hearts. That's a mission that not too many are willing to take because of what comes with it. It came with a lot. It came with heartache. It came with turmoil. It came with targets, right? It came with the loss of life. And you have to realize that there was additional parties connected to that mission, connected to that vision, family, loved ones that were all connected to this. Because when his life was taken at such a young age, he had children, he had a wife, he had other leaders that were looking at him. He had individuals that were watching him on TV screens that were influenced by all that he did and all the things that he was aiming to do to transform the world during a time where segregation and really a hate for people of color was running rampant. That's why, again, to lead with the goal in mind, to not that was really influencing and shifting the hearts and minds of people. Again, that's a whole nother level of that's like a heavy weight. I won't even say a weight, but it's just like a heavy mission to carry. And when we are sitting in these leadership roles, right, in these seats, like the mission and the visions that we have or the goals that we have, sometimes you look at like what we're doing now, or sometimes I look at what I'm doing and I'm like, man, I have such a heavy task. I have so many things. It's just like such a heavy plate to carry. But when you think about the time and the doors that a lot of the leaders that have come behind us, like the things that they've done to open doors for us, it's made it easier, to be honest, for us to lead and be in these seats. As a woman, right? Because again, if you think about the time, even women's rights look different. So although there were some shifts and changes that happened as far as rights and policies for Black people, for African Americans, there was still another battle that had to happen for women. There were still some shifts that still had to occur, and there's still things that we still have to push towards in order for women to be in these leadership roles. So we can see more progression and diversity in those C-suite roles, on those boards, in those decision-making rooms. But the beauty is, as leaders, the wars and the small battles that we wage, the small battles that we engage in and win because we continue to press forward, it opens the doors and it aids that next generation and those next tier of leaders. It helps them towards, again, them entering into that next battle. And it makes it easier, right? That pathway gets easier. Again, it's like each battle supports the next generation. And it just helps them get closer and closer to win the big war. And I had shared a message like that before on my Instagram, and on my social media platform. So even yesterday when I posted, or the other day where I posted for Martin Luther King, for his day, I put, leaders continue to dream, but put your dreams in action, remembering to do it with excellence. So those that come behind you don't pick up where you left off, but can take on the next mission equipped fully because of what you did during your chapter, right? Because it's about action and recognizing, again, it's not solely about us. It's really not. It's not about us. It's about the impact that we can make. It's about the transformation that we can have. And even if we look at it from the aspect of, waging wars and recognizing the battles that we wage, I had this other post just stood out to me. There was someone on Twitter that posted, "While I think of Juneteenth," it was so powerful. I just love this message. He said, "While I think of Juneteenth, I think of the generations of Black folks who fought for freedom. They knew they might never see themselves, but fought for it anyway. It is a reminder that we don't always try to build a better world so we can see it, but because someday someone will. They might not see it. It might be unseen change. But the war is about the principle or the ideology behind the disagreement and the strategy, right? That's what a war is. And then what happens that is that a battle is a small part of the war. Several battles together can be referred to as a campaign, but ultimately all battles and campaign goes towards winning the overall war, right? And then what happens is that leaders continue to fight those battles for positive change. We might not see during our tenure there or in our generation, but progression was made and stages have been set, right? Have still been set. And the reality is that MLK wasn't able to see his dream come to fruition, right? To physically see it, but he fought that battle. So it would make it easier for people like me, for his children, for other people's children that were able to still live and see what happened tomorrow, even though he didn't make it to tomorrow. And I want us to think about our roles as leaders as being just as important, right? This is a serious role that we're in. So today I want to highlight some principles. I want to highlight some focus points as leaders that we need to consider. We really need to consider as we are navigating leadership, that we need to consider as we navigate these spaces that we're in. Because again, I don't want you to just look at it as, this is just something that we're doing, just as, we're just leading. We're just here for the check or the parking spot. We're just here for the opportunity, right? And again, yes, there are perks that come along with leadership. However, ultimately, there's a bigger reason why we're doing it. All right, there's a bigger reason. So make sure you got your notepads ready, right? Because I want to highlight some really awesome quotes that just stood out to me and how it connects to what we do as leaders. So the first thing is, leaders execute with excellence. Leaders execute with excellence. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. How powerful. I'm going to read that again, right? Leaders should execute with excellence. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. Are you leading and executing with excellence? So, in one of my classes, there was an article where we read about integrity. Now, of course, within our ethos in the Air Force, within our creed, we talk about integrity, right? And when you think about integrity, it's kind of like, doing the right thing when no one's looking. It's just like integrity is like this, it's really about like standing up for what's right. It's like being a overall good person. Like, do you have integrity? Are you honest? Are you going to keep your word? But this version of integrity talked about wholeness, meaning that is there going to be excellence given in everything that you do? It was a really interesting twist to integrity. So it talked about the reason why a lot of people have breakdowns in what they do is because they lack integrity. They lack doing or giving excellence in all they do. And because of a lack of awareness in this breakdown, this is causing a lot of issues in their life. So an example was giving of, if your car is needed, there's some like maintenance needed for your car and you're not taking it and getting it taken care of. And over time, right, you start seeing or you start experiencing more and more issues with your car because you didn't take it in for maintenance. You didn't take it in for maintenance and you need work done. But again, you keep on driving the car. Over time, you're going to take it on the road and it's going to have another breakdown. Take it on the road is going to have another breakdown, and so on and so on. So where's the awareness? Where is the pausing and saying, this machinery isn't working. I need to go get an oil change. I need to go get it maintenance. I need to go get it taken care of so it can function properly. So it can function in the excellence for it to get me to point A to point B, for it to be that, travel machinery that I use for me to get to where I need to my destination. So in the products, the systems, the processes, you being that leader, how much integrity do you hold? How much excellence are you putting in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? Are you doing it well? Are you doing it so well that no one could do it better? And by no means am I saying that we need to be perfectionist. We need to be, the I don't know, we don't perfection isn't reality, but it's about just like I was sharing about that example of integrity. It's about giving it all we got. I'm gonna show up and I'm just gonna give it the best that I can do. And recognizing those seasons where it's like, I'm not 100%. Why is that? What adjustments do I need to make? What shifts do I need to make? I watched this sermon this weekend. It was so powerful. My virtual pastor, shout out to Dr. Darius Daniels, and he talked about how there are a lot of people who can fully function in their purpose because they have aligned themselves or they're pursuing goals and aspirations are connected to something that they want or something that someone else has, and they aspire to be that. And that's not truly what God has for them. And although those might be listening, might be like not spiritual, I subscribe to that a lot, right? Because that's just my foundation. But it's so interesting when it's so powerful how that's the reality for a lot of people. A lot of people are pursuing things that's not what their purpose is, or that's not what their mission is. But they're like, I want that thing that that person has. And they're chasing after it. And because they're not reaching that goal, they can't do it well. But it was never meant for them in the first place. It was never meant for them. So it's not only, that's why even where it highlights your life's work, it's identifying specifically where you're supposed to be leading at and aligning yourself in the right place. And then when you get yourself aligned with the right area, the right assignment, the right purpose, it's doing it well, taking it serious, recognizing it's more than a check, it's more than a parking spot. It's more than a title. It's more than having access. It's about the mission. It's about the excellence. It's about, you know, all the other things that come with it. Because what MLK did, like his work extended beyond him. It did. Even in his death, there was still impact. Legacy was birthed. Other leaders were born from his work, and it continued. So, are you executing in excellence? The next one, leaders don't do it for self. He said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? What are you doing for others? And I kind of touched on that just a second ago. But what are you doing for others? Has it become solely about you, me, myself, and I? Has it? Has it? Has your leadership become something a selfish pursuit? From the Montgomery bus boycott, to the many marches, to the sit-ins that were influenced, to the meetings with the presidents and the phone calls, to the going from town to town, state to state, city to city. There was a mission behind it. There were phone calls from mothers, fathers. There was lynchings. There were losses of life. There were people being abused and so many different other stories that were happening. Just imagine the kind of phone calls that were being taken on a regular basis and the different stories that were being heard. There was always someone else connected behind that fueled the mission. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? When did leadership become solely about you? I always say, as leaders, our decision making is not solely just affecting us, right? It's affecting the people, the processes, and the big picture. That decision you're making has it affects so many people: the internal customer, your team members, those people that work within, the ecosystem of your organization, but it's also impacting those on the outside as well, your external customers. It'll impact your families. Your decision you make is going to affect another team member, and now it's affecting, right, their level of execution, and now it might impact them to the point where it's, baby, I have to stay late because, you know, this decision was made and now it's impacting me and I have to make this adjustment, and it's so many other people impacted by your decision. And if we're just making decisions solely about self and we're not considering all the other individuals, the processes, the systems, the organizational mission, and all these other pieces that are affected, again, that's selfish. This is what causes breakdowns in teams. This is what causes conflict. This is what causes companies to go bankrupt when we start thinking solely about self. One of the exercises that we did in our class recently is that one of the questions was about, it was about Nokia. And this was a piece that was from some time ago. And it talked about this specific question asked, okay, what kind of changes will need to be embedded in order for Nokia to really dominate the US market? Because at that time, and this was an article written some time ago, or this exercise was written some time ago. At the time, Nokia had dominated the area, they had dominated the cell phone arena. However, what happened is that they hit a piece, like they got stagnant. They hit a pause because their technology was only beneficial for the market overseas, right? They had a piece of technology within their phone that was only supported if for those who had phones, you know, overseas. It could not be utilized in the US. And as these other cell phone companies started to dominate, well, they took over, right? And now Nokia started to kind of fall down as far as dominating that space. In addition to that, they needed to build relationship with other carriers, right? Nokia was like, we want to do our own thing, but other carriers were like, listen, if you want to build a relationship with us, you need to be able to, give us your phone. We can distribute it. We can put our own little, twist and so on with it. But they didn't want to do that. So that was another breakdown. But internally, they also shared that there were some breakdowns internally. There was a lot of self-focus that was happening with management and those that were in the decision-making table, where it became about, all right, we've made X amount of money, decisions weren't being made effectively. They couldn't move forward with certain ideas as far as launching different products, and it just was a lot of conflict internally that became more of a internal us thing than, okay, what do we need to do to move beyond this so we can start thinking about about the big picture? Because yes, we did great and we've dominated this maybe overseas market, but we need to, for us to stay at the top or at least be able to compete, we need to be able to do our part in the United States as well. So they had a tremendous drop. And although things have shifted, now they do have, phones. I know as of January 20 this year, right? January 2022, they're going to be launching some new phones and so on. But that infighting, right? That self-focus, that internal breakdown caused a lot of breakdowns. And while we don't know all the ins and outs of that, when things become so self-focused, when internal conflict isn't resolved, when we can't get outside of the me, myself, and I and start working on the we, how can we get beyond that? And again, I'm sure there are other dynamics connected to that, then that's when you start to find a lot more breakdowns. So we have to get beyond the me, myself, and I and get to the we. Because when we connect the we to the mission, and again, we need the people, we need the processes, we need the big picture, we need all these pieces connected to the mission, because that's how we get far. Then people will buy in and connect. And that's what is so powerful about change. Because once you can get the people connected to the change, you can get them involved, get them connected in, that's when you can start really moving traction. Martin Luther King, what made him unique is because he had to build relationships. That's why, although his approach was different from other different, leaders, which was okay. Everyone has different approaches. He took the approach of nonviolent. He took the approach of building relationships because he knew that there were certain, relationships that he had to build that subscribe more to the nonviolent side. So his strategy was different from others. Not saying one was wrong, one was right. It's not about picking sides right now, but that was his strategy. Let me build relationships. And by building relationships, I can move this mission further. I can move this way towards it because I know that there's other pieces connected to it. By picking up this phone call and having this conversation with this mother, this father, by talking to Rosa Parks and discussing what happened to her on the bus, and really connected to this vision or to this potential opportunity to, desegregate buses, by, connecting to this or connecting to that, going to the city, talking to this person, now traction started to get built. And now the world stage started to see. Now the president started to see. Now city officials started to see, and things started to move forward. That's the power of the we, when you can gather that buy-in with multiple people. But when it's just you and it's just about you, people don't connect to the me, myself, and I, but they connect to the we. So is it about you or is it about the we? Leaders don't do it for self. And then the final quote, right? Leaders stand in the uncomfortable. If anything, with any of the world leaders of that time, with any of them, they had to stand in the uncomfortable. The ultimate measure of a man, right, or a woman, is not where he or she stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Did you know at that time the approval rating of MLK was 33%? 33%. So, yes, right now, on these holidays, for a lot of people, we'll celebrate them. But at that time, 33%, he was not popular. What he was doing was different. There was a lot of controversy. There were a lot of people that were against it. There were a lot of people like, you're bringing too much attention to this. We don't like how your approach is. We don't like this approach. We need you to approach it this way because you see what's happening in our communities. You need to do it this way because you don't see this is what's happening here. You need to address it in this way. Bombings are happening, lynchings are happening. People are being abused, lives are being taken. We need you to do it this way. Or all this work you're doing and you're still being treated like this. You need to do it this way. Why are you doing it this way? Do it this way. I mean, just so many different challenges at the time. Leadership is uncomfortable. There are going to be decisions that you make that aren't popular. When you want everyone to stand next to you, you might stand alone. It might just be you. It might be just you and your inner circle or your inner core of people that support you. It might just be. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. That's when your leadership is truly tested. That's when when growth really happens. It's in those moments when you are uncomfortable. That's where lessons are learned. That's when you can actually weed through who truly, right? Who truly wants to grow and develop as well. That's where you can see, that's where conflict happens, right? We talk about, I did this session on the 5 stages of team development. So you can talk about this can be the conflict stage, the storming phase, where you're questioned, conflict arises, stress, lack of sleep. And now again, this is even trickling into your home. Because again, we know as leaders, a lot of the things we navigate does affect us how we show up in the home as well. I understand keep your personal professional life separate, but it does follow us in the home. It does. Imagine the level of stress being phone tapped, getting calls and threats on a regular basis, your household trying to be torn apart, so many different things. He wasn't just standing in front of or being challenged just by city officials or a small group of people, but this was by government agencies. This was by top officials. And not diminishing the level of challenges we face because it does matter. It does. But just recognizing that that's where the true test comes in. That's where lessons are learned. That's where growth happens. And that is normal for leadership. But we have to stand in the uncomfortable. I'm in an uncomfortable season now. I was in an uncomfortable season last year. It's cyclical. It's something that's going to happen over and over again. But I learned lessons, and from those lessons, I can apply those lessons I learned in this next season. So leaders, are you standing in the uncomfortable? Are you not doing it for self? But are you doing it for others? Not about me, but about we. Are you executing in excellence? We must remember, right? We must remember that is what it's all about. That is what it's all about. We must ensure that we continue to dream. We must continue to ensure that we are navigating in excellence. That is going to be important on this journey of leadership. It's not just a buzzword, it's just not a term that you just use. I mean, so many people, I'm a leader, I'm a leader. But are you really? Do you really live it? Is it really within what you do? Is it like heart work? Does it mean anything to you? Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, dead, and unborn could not do it any better. So, leaders, as I left on my message, continue to dream, but put your dreams in action, remembering to do it with excellence. So, those that come behind you don't pick up where you left off, but can take on the next mission equipped fully because of what you did during your chapter. So, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Make sure that you like, share this, subscribe, leave a review. That information is important because we need to get this message out to all of the leaders out there. We need to get it out to all the leaders, right? We need to get this information out. It is importante, so important that people are hearing this message, all right? So this is the Leader Set Trends podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, make sure you email me, message me at info@aishathomas.org, or follow me on any social media platform at Miss Aisha Thomas. All right, at Miss Aisha Thomas. Leave me a message there. And shout out to Justice Barron for this shirt, right? Future millionaire. Let's get it. I'm going to put billionaire on there. But thank you so much for this shirt. I love it so much. I already got some, love for this shirt. So I thank you for it. Make sure, yes, this podcast is now on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video version, go to YouTube and check it out as well. And again, share this, comment, review, like it, because that's how this message gets out, into the world, all right, the leadership world. So appreciate you guys tuning in, right? And as I always say, individuals don't typically quit the organization, they typically quit the leader. And that's why you need leadership development. Have a good day.